Guys, we're going to look at 6 knives with incredible edge geometry. Let's take a look at this right after this. All right, guys, we're going to work our way from thinnest to thickest, and I'm going to tell you why some of the thicker knives still cut. There's something to do with that. Let's start right here with this knife, the Steingraber Performance Knives Lamia. Now, this knife is coming in at 0.010 behind the edge thickness. There are some spots where it's thinner. Some of his knives are thinner than that. This is incredible. Now, this thing is not just that it's thin behind the edge. It transitions really well, and that's something we're going to talk about in an add-on video. This knife is incredible in how well it cuts because it has got that really good edge geometry. So when you've got a nice thin geometry, you can slice through stuff. But you guys know that. This is done in a flat grind, crew wear. These things are amazing. This is probably one of the best American-made knives on the market right now when you're looking at some of those knives that are coming in at the more expensive price point, but it's definitely worth it. This one can be made to run on washers or bearings. It's done in alignment lock, full titanium, brilliant pocket clip. It is reverse flick only, but you can also pop past the detent and slow roll it out. Super comfortable in hand. One of the best slicers. I do have to sharpen this before I send it back to Alex because it has had a good bit of use. You guys are going to see the full review on this. This is the Lamia that he did. He did a great job in coming up with just an all-around brilliant design, beautiful design. It doesn't waste anything on bells and whistles. It's just simplistic and elegant. It does carry really well. It is just about one of the best knives out there. The transition that he did on this, it doesn't step really quickly back into a thicker bit of material. You've got a lot. There is no real sharpening choil, but there's also a lot of distance from the plunge. There are no hot spots, no sharp spots on this. So if you're looking for a performance cutter, this might be one you want to talk to Alex about finding out when the next drop is. I know that he does lotteries and giveaways and things like that on his channel. This is just probably one of the best all-around knives you're going to find. If you can find one, they are hard to come by. So this one and the next knife are tied for thickness. So let's go ahead and move on to the next one. This is the Precision Knife Works War and Tack, and I misspoke when I said it was tied with the Lamia. It is not from the factory. This is done OEM for Precision Knife Works by QSP Knives, but he is doing regrinds. You can actually order him to grind them thinner behind the edge, and those are the ones that are coming out at 0.010, which would tie it for the Lamia. But this thing's amazing. This is done in a Warncliffe fashion. You got a nice piercing point behind the edge is great on it, done in a hollow. That's how he's accomplishing that super thin behind the edge on a relatively narrow blade. It is reverse flick only, full titanium. The finish on this is great. This has been one of my favorite EDC knives to carry for a long time. Big aperture so that you can reverse flick off of it. It's done in a frame lock with bearings. QSP does great OEM work. It's a reversible pocket clip, but like I said, this thing is just a cutting beast when it comes down to it. You got so much good purchase on this knife to just do so much heavy duty cutting. The finish on this has held up. I do need to resharpen this one again, but sharpening this was super easy, even though it is in 20 CV. This is probably one of the best performing knives you're going to find at the price point. The last knife was in the $700 range. This is at about the $300-ish range. I can't remember exactly. He's got different prices listed. This is only available, as far as I know, at PrecisionKnifeWorks.com. He may have vendors now. I'm not sure. I haven't talked to him for a while, but this is an absolute beast of a knife. So there you go. The Precision Knife Works War and Tack. So this knife, you might be looking at it and saying, Mike, that's a big, beefy knife. This is the Something Obscene JK, but I got to tell you, this is coming in at 0.018 behind the edge as well, also accomplished on a hollow. This is a nice broad blade, so you have this hollow transitioning down really far. This knife will hold that behind the edge thickness for a very long time through sharpenings. This is, as I've said, the best knife I've had come in this year. This is done as a flipper titanium inlays, titanium scales. It is a frame lock, and the action on this is just about the best action on a knife I've had come in a very, very long time. Lock bar tension on it seems to be light, but it's got a snappy action. Detent, everything on this is great, but this thing really shines when you cut with it because it just screams through material. This is an attractive knife. You've got really good hand feel and positioning. The ergos on it are amazing. And then, like I said, this really well done grind on this coming up to this thicker tip. So you have a thicker behind the edge here than you do here. So you don't have to worry so much about knives that are super thin breaking at the point. But this thing came extremely, extremely sharp. I have only cut cardboard with it. I didn't do a lot of heavy duty wood cutting and stuff like that with this. Not because I'm not allowed to, just because it's a gorgeous, gorgeous knife. I want to give it back to the owner that way. But this has been honestly one of the best knives this year. They did a really good job with everything. They did jump the backspacer, which I'm not a big fan of, and it does have a big lanyard hole, but this thing's awesome. It came with a replacement pocket clip. Reat did the OEM for this, and I've not had a bad Reat. I really haven't. Reat just does some of the best OEM work and in-house production work you're going to find. But this thing is just amazing to cut with because it just does have that broad transition where it just screams through material. So there you go. The J Cape by Something Obscene. This is the QSP Legatus. Now it's behind the edge thickness, the same as the last one, 0.018, which is still a very thin behind the edge thickness when you think a lot of everyday carry knives are coming in at about 0.03-ish, which is still a decent Goldilocks zone, but this thing is a screamer. It just cuts through so much material so well. The blade shape on this is done really well. It transitions nicely down from the spine to that thin behind the edge. There's not a thickening behind it. It doesn't transition rapidly into thicker material. It's done in titanium and carbon fiber, and you're looking at one of the most comfortable knives in hand. You've got this big sweeping thumb ramp here, but no jimping. It's not hot spotty. There is nothing. And like I've said, if you're not going to put good jimping on, just don't put it on at all. I find this to be sufficient to do very well. This is done as a collaboration between QSP and Dutch Blade Works, and it's a great, great design. The carbon fiber on it is done beautifully. It's not too polished that makes it slippery, but you still get that weave effect, that opalescence, and an optical effect of it when it catches the light. And I've cut a lot with this, and the finish is held up. There's only a few little scratches on it that you can see where I got through some cardboard that necessarily wasn't clean. But I have to say, this is one of the best performing knives that I've had come in for a while. This is one that they sent me that I'm going to keep. Typically stuff like that would be a giveaway, but I'm keeping this one. So amazing, amazing knife. If you can find one, they're great. I will put as many links to the knives down below. Like I said, there will be a link in the description for these, but this thing is awesome. So the next couple knives are a little bit thicker than the ones we've seen before, and I'm going to kind of explain why they still cut really well, but there will be a separate video about behind the edge thickness. Let's go ahead and move on to the two thickest of the six.
No one likes to watch ads in the middle of a video. I don't like putting them in, but I do know that I gotta support what I do here, so I partnered with companies that I know I can trust. And today's sponsor is Coffee Brand Coffee. They're delivering quality coffee, freshly roasted on demand, ground to order and delivered to your door, and they're not doing anything political, so you don't have to worry about a company that you're supporting that is supporting causes that you might not agree with, because they don't support any causes. They just simply take the money and put it back into making a better product. So I would appreciate if you both support their new small business and my channel by checking out Coffee Brand Coffee and looking at their offerings. Use the link below and my coupon code Crazy Sharp on their website. It's Crazy Sharp, all one word, capital C, capital S. Let's get back to this.
So these next two knives are the thickest. I said we were going to work our way from thinnest to thickest, but they perform every bit as well. This one is coming in at 0.020. This is the Finch Buffalo Tooth. Now, I'm going to do a video, like I said, about behind the edge thickness and things and blade geometry, edge geometry. But the thing that this has going for it is It's at 0.020, but it stays nice and thin for a long time because the blade is so broad that they did a gentle transition to the spine. So this thing just cuts so well. And on top of the fact that this blade does transition relatively gradually and cuts really well, it's just really comfortable in hand because it is a bigger knife. It fills your hand really well. You don't engage the muscles as much. You're not fatiguing. You've got multiple grips. This thing is really comfortable. This is done in a titanium jigged frame lock with just a flipper, but they left nail nicks on it. Finch Knives always does this. Finch Knives does this because they base their designs off of traditional knives, which would have that nail nick and were not flippers. That this thing is great. Pocket clip is on it is great. And one of the cool things about this one is, missed the flipper tab a little bit, they put some jimping here on the front of the flipper where you really didn't need it for flipping, but when you get up on it, that gives you a second point to get up on it, almost like a finger choil, but without a finger choil. So you can get way up on here and do some cutting and get yourself a little further forward. This is an awesome knife so far. I'm really impressed with it. And I didn't think I would like it. I thought it would just be something that would be weird that I wouldn't like, but I find this finding its way into my pocket. Now, I will say, you got to really get on the flipper tab. It's not one you can be gentle with or it won't deploy all the way. But like I said, this finds its way into my pocket more times than I thought it would. So there you go. The Finch Buffalo Tooth. This last knife is the Terramundi Knives warning button. And you guys just saw a video about it with the intriguing new style button lock that they used. But what this does have going for it is an incredibly good blade transition. Like I said on the last one, this one is also coming in at 0.020 behind the edge thickness, but because it stays thin like that for a long time, you can see that transition is so gradual on that you don't have to worry about material binding up. So this thing just cuts so well. On top of that, it's in a aggressive downward leaning angle that allows you to cut. And the fact is, if you're up near the tip, since this transitions down this way, there's a good chunk of that where it's not, where you're cutting, where you're not even getting into the thicker material here. This has just been a dream to have here at the house. The button lock mechanism on it is hidden within the pivot. If you haven't seen that video, I'll put a link to it here. But it's just incredibly good at cutting. Now that this is here permanently, I was told by the individual that sent this that, nope, you can keep that. That was actually intended to stay with you. We're going to see some heavier duty use on this because I was kind of gentle with it, but this thing just is amazing to cut with. The jimping is just about perfect. The hand feel, the ergos on it are awesome. In and out of pocket, it's great. You've got a reversible pocket clip that is socketed, so you don't have to worry about it moving. Just an awesome knife. The fact that the bearings are so flat and so tight into that you don't really have much gunk or material that gets down in the pivot makes it cool. And it is a lot of fun just to have that lock in the pivot. But Dirk Pinkerton really brought it to the table when he made this design. This is one of the best designs to cut with comfortably for a long period of time that I've had come in a long time. So there you go. That was 6 knives with amazing behind the edge thickness and edge geometry. So guys, let's turn this around, do some final thoughts, and send you out about your day.
There you go, guys. That was 6 knives with what are almost perfect blade geometry. When you look at behind the edge thickness, the transition, the way they cut, they are just amazing. I do have to apologize in retrospect. I filmed this a couple days ago. I'm on some new medication. It does make it harder for me to communicate. So you guys may notice in some of the videos, they don't sound as smooth and clear. I'm feeling pretty good about it today. So I just want to apologize in advance. You're going to see that in some of the videos. I will mention that. I know what I want to say. I just can't quite make it come out the same way, but I know that you guys still want to see videos. So we'll work through it together. Guys, if you want to support the channel, a bunch of ways you can do it. Simply liking the videos is about the best way. I have got a bunch of financial ways you can do it. Coffee Brand Coffee, I'm pretty sure I threw an ad in or will throw an ad in. They are my primary channel sponsor, but I also have Tempered Trail. There's a link down below to both of those. They're awesome vendors, awesome companies. They're not going to go woke on you. They won't do anything with your money that you don't want them to. They're guilt-free purchases. Coffee Brand Coffee has got a money-back guarantee. I also have coupon codes for Rosecraft knives and Fair and Forged Knife Works. That coupon code is crazy sharp. All one word, works at both of those. I have an Amazon store down below. Take it, pin it to your browser, use it for any shopping that you want to do. It doesn't cost you anything. And I do have a membership. It is the best way for you to support the channel. I have a tier-based membership. Everyone gets a litany of benefits. You get early access to videos, exclusive content. You have access to my private Discord. Baseline and premium guys get entered into giveaways that I do on the Gilded server. And the premium guys have access to a sharpening tutorial series here on YouTube that's behind that paywall. Guys, that's it on this one. I love you all. Keep it clean in the comment section. If it's your birthday, happy birthday. And I'll see you in the next video.